Hello, hello. This is Hunter McDermott again with Guitar Blog Episode 2. It is 4:26 p.m. on Tuesday, July 16th, 2019. So I'm a little late this week because I went camping this weekend, which was lovely, but it meant that by Sunday I was pretty zonked and hadn't really done a whole lot of great practicing this week anyway. But back into the week, into the swing of things, as it were. Let's see. Yeah, I have been working on some cool stuff. There's a book I should show you. Jazz stuff. There's a great book by a guy named Randy Vincent called The Cellular Approach, and it's pretty cool. And I think it's similar to other books that I've heard of, but don't have personal experience with. The concept is melodic cells, so taking typically four-note groups of notes, four-note groups, and linking them together, working on them over specific chord changes, and kind of thinking of them as small ideas that then connect to other small ideas, and then eventually you can link all that kind of stuff together. So I've had this book for a while and was talking to a buddy of mine who is a saxophone player. He's a fantastic player and has a lot more experience than I do with jazz stuff, and ended up studied at UNT with not with a guy, but there's a guy on the staff named Mike Stein, who's worked heavily in this area of melodic cells and stuff. He's a great educator and working on teaching people improvisation by studying the greats. So I think in his book, Mike Steinell's book, he takes like Charlie Parker solos and breaks them down and goes, hey, here's one idea, and he uses it, a dozen times in this solo or whatever, and just gives you like direct proof, like, hey, here's a transcription of this famous tune that you like, here's what he's doing, let's break that down and study it as, this idea. So there's a lot of there's a pedigree behind it, I guess. Like, it's easy to look at this material and go, yeah, I can see that it's useful, because it was used. And so, but anyway, I had the book for a while, and I think like any book I buy, I expect to really dive in and get something out of it, but books just don't really work that way. Even books that are set up in such a way where you're supposed to start here and go through. Randy's book is not like that, by his own admission. He's just like, here's a bunch of stuff, use what you find is useful and ignore the rest, and maybe come back to it. But it's hard, it's hard to determine what you need at any given time. But anyway, I decided I would work on this book at least for a little while, try to get through a certain specified chunk of it, and just kind of keep my head down. So even if I was doubting its usefulness, for a specified period of time, I was just going to do it. Just trust that Randy is taking me somewhere useful. And he gets to something really cool really early on. So he starts the book out by focusing on quick cycling dominant chords. So stuff like that kind of thing. So you're going by fourths around the circle, just doing dominant chords the whole time. And he specifies a tune called Jordu, which is a Duke Jordan tune that has the bridge is all that, and even parts of the melody are a quick cycling dominant. So it's he takes, here's an idea, here's a tune, here's the thing that works with this tune, and there are other tunes that have cycling dominants in it, so you can take this kind of concept and move it to other tunes. But so he gives you a whole bunch of patterns, and he starts them mostly up high, and then you learn how to go down, something like that kind of thing. So it's going 1, 2, 3, 5 on a chord, so we're starting on the root. In this case it'd be E. And then, let's see, then what do we do? So if we're on, let's just start easy. So C, and then we go to a G, and then we go to F. Would be root, flat 7, 6, 5, and then the next root. Something like that. And he shows you how to do this in lots of different fingerings, and you go back and forth. But like the real sweet spot is kind of at the end of each section, where you see that all these patterns that you've been working on connect in a cool sort of infinite way. So I could take that stuff starting from any root. Kind of thing. And it's cool because you're improvising still. Like there's no exercise that does exactly that. He has you doing lots of different variations to get you used to just feeling like you can move wherever you want to move, and seeing how these patterns link across all the different strings, going up and down, different fingerings, all that kind of stuff. And that's great, because when you get to the bridge of a song like Jordu, then you can just go, all right, let me find the root of the starting point, and I can just kind of go as a baseline for playing the changes there. I think ideally you want to modify these or phrase them differently, so it's not just it doesn't sound like an exercise, which is what that sounds like, but it is cool. And he does that through some flat 9 stuff, dominant flat 9 kind of stuff, and then works from the third. I don't remember. So quickly I forget it. Anyway, and he goes from the 5th. Anyway, so it's cool, and I was working on that stuff for a while, and I've already starting to forget some of it. Because I was having trouble working it into stuff. And that is what I've heard from other people as well. And that's where I think the book could use a little bit more guidance. Like, here's a bunch of really great stuff. Here's evidence that it's useful. And it even gives you some easy wins where you're like, hey, I'm improvising by linking these things together, and it sounds fun. It sounds good, and it's fun. But then it's just like, then you get inundated with more and more and more stuff. And at some point you're like, all right, how do I actually like apply this to a tune? So that's where I'm a little bit stuck, because it's good vocabulary, but it's like, I don't know, trying to think about how to put this stuff to use for real. But anyway, so the Mike Steinell approach is similar. He doesn't have a whole books, well, he probably does have a whole book worth of stuff, but he's got one thing called 3 and 2 out that is really useful as well. And that's these 3 patterns for a 2 chord and 2 patterns for a 5 chord, I think. Yeah. And then you link them together. So you can combine like 3 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 2 out, 2 in, 1 out, whatever. Like, you have all these different combinations of them. Let's see if I can remember it. So it'd be something like, so something like that, like a 2-5, and that ends on the 3rd of the C chord. And then you can modify it. You could do like flat 9 kind of thing. And he shows you different ways to do like octave displacement. So it doesn't sound quite the same. But anyway, it's all really good stuff, and I'm going to keep working on that because what's really great is when you are playing and you're trying to just follow your ear and play something that feels good and sounds good to you, and then you come up to like in Jordu, in a tune like There Will Never Be Another You can play the whole song, basically improvise in E flat. But then at one point it goes A minor 7 to D7, I think. It's like these quick 2/5s that go through a cycle to bring you back to the E flat. And E flat still sounds good over most of that, except that, and at least to my ear, that A flat, or that A minor 7 to D7 change. So there, something like that would work. Or I don't remember all these patterns. I really need to work on these. But anyway, something like that would work great. To kind of just quickly get you through something where you're a little less comfortable, or where it's whatever. You need something to just quote real quick to kind of keep you things moving. And it sounds good too. Like it's not paint by numbers unless you do it too much. And then, of course, the idea behind that is, of course, to take it and make it your own, phrase it differently, add different notes, enclosures, chromatic, stuff like that. But anyway, so as I was saying before, the thing I struggle with most is just having stuff to play and feeling like I'm looking at a tune with a bunch of changes, and maybe I've never heard the tune or played the tune, and I need to solo over it. And having lots of stuff you can just sort of throw at the tune is great. And if your ear catches on to something and you take it into like a truly inspired creative direction, then that's kind of the big goal, but you don't get that very often. So you have to have stuff you can do for the rest of the time. Anyway, so I've been working on that stuff. I've been struggling a little staying focused on stuff. I think what I'm gonna start trying to do more is, so real quick, I was watching a great video by Brent Vartstra, the guy from Learn Jazz Standards, and he was talking about this kind of stuff, like, hey, I have a lick, and that's cool, but how do I work that into a tune? What's the best way to like practice that lick to where it actually comes out in my playing when I'm actually playing? And he gave some great advice for that, and you can check that out. But he demonstrates how he does this using a specific lick that he picked up from a record, and it does that kind of boop ba da da da, the 7 flat 9 thing. It does that a couple times in the lick. I'm trying to remember how the lick actually goes. It kind of like walks down to that. But anyway, it was very validating to go here's this guy pulling something off a record, and it's that lick that I picked up from the Randy Vincent book. So, that's further proof that there's something to this. I just haven't fully grasped how I specifically need to work this stuff into my playing. I think the key is probably just biting off a very, very small piece and running it to death, maybe. Running it in different keys over different tunes. Because once I got the cool infinitely looping thing, I was feeling really great, but that's all dominant chords, and it's all dominants and fourths, and most of the tunes that I play are not that. So, it's useful and cool, but maybe only has limited use. Anyway, so that's what I've messed around with. What I think I'm going to start doing a little bit more of is composing solos and trying to transcribe stuff. Everybody always says to do that, and I never do. So I might start to do that, try to probably not write stuff down, but just kind of transcribe it by ear and see if I can kind of absorb it that way. Because that's kind of the name of the game with all this stuff, is like spending time running through lots of things, listening to things over and over again, and trying not to be too sad when they don't pop up in your playing. But continue to work on stuff and letting it happen organically to where your ear is developed and you start to hear things as you are playing. They pop out because your head is telling you that. Like, you're increasing your connection between your fingers and your mind, and then you're beefing up what's in your mind, so then it all just kind of flows through eventually. Anyway, and then just trying to keep your self-esteem up while you're doing that. Not easy. Anyway, so that's probably it for this week. I'm going to go play with some folks tonight, and I will probably be suggesting this tune, which is Jordu, the one that Randy talks about. It's got the quick cycling dominance. It's been fun working on this one. It's a cool sounding tune anyway. It's given me an excuse to really work the Randy Vincent stuff, because that's kind of what he bases the whole first chapter off of anyway. So anyway, I'm going to flip over to Band in the Box and play a little bit of this tune. So here we go. something like that. Yeah, so that stuff just kind of sounds like, all right, and now start the exercise and just run the thing. But anyway, it's good stuff to have in your back pocket. And then when all else fails, you just kind of do C minor-y stuff, E flat, E stuff. The more I play through any given song, the better my ear gets. It just kind of like hearing the changes sort of under, on a subconscious level, and knowing, I don't always hit every right note according to what I hear in my head, but I can just start to feel it a little bit and play, more instinctively. And that's really the goal and the dream, right? So having a mixture, I think that's like, maybe that's not the best solo you've ever heard, but to me, that's a good place to be with a tune. I've got some sort of stock stuff that I know sounds really nice, or at least okay, and then I try to use my ear for the rest of it. That's where I am. It's hard, and that's a lot of work on one tune. So then I pick up another tune and I go, all right, starting over, and just hoping that with each tune I build a little bit quicker and to the to this level, and then eventually I can just do it on any tune, maybe. All right, so anyway, that's it for Guitar Blog episode 2. My goals this week are to keep revisiting my practice plan, figure out what the hell I'm doing, and actually do it. I think I'm probably setting too many things, choosing too many things to do in each day, and I need to just pick a tune, work on the tune, figure out a comping pattern, record that, play over top of it, work on some vocab, that kind of thing. That's what I was doing with this tune, and it seems to be effective. So I'll try that again with another tune. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.